All right.
Okay, and we're live. Welcome back to Mamas with Commas. So, Nico and I are here with Jesse Phelps from the Lakota People's Law Project. We are so excited about tonight. Guys, we know the last chat we told you that it was our last chat for the year, but we could not miss the opportunity to come on tonight with Jesse on Giving Tuesday and talk about what more we can do to help the native people of this land. So I want to kind of forewarn everyone that is able to connect with us this evening. For some reason, we are having some technical difficulties, so we're going to try to push through the conversation and see if we can
Right.
get all of the information shared with you. But if for some reason the connection cuts out, we're in various places around the country, and each of us are experiencing a little bit of trouble with technology. So if we need to cut it and reschedule for another day, that's what we'll do. But we're planning to try to push through with the conversation. I'm gonna go ahead and add Jesse back in. Jesse,
You're
are
good.
you
Hello.
there? Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I wasn't hearing you before, Toya, so I logged out and logged back into, and now I do. So great.
Okay, great. Awesome. So we did our little introduction and just let everyone know who you are and why we're here this evening. So we're going to plan to be on for about 30 minutes. So we're going to kind of just, and plus with the technical difficulties, we don't want to get booted out or disconnected. So we're going to jump right in with our questions. Can you tell us about how you became involved with the Lakota People's Law Project?
You bet. Yeah. So I have an old friend named Benjamin who is one of the smartest guys I know, and just heart and smart, cares about the right stuff. And throughout the years, he has always called upon me for my words. I am a wordsmith. That's what I do. I'm the communications specialist for the organization. So about 4 years ago, when the pipeline protests over DAPL were happening, the Dakota Access Pipeline were happening at Standing Rock, um, things really ramped up for the organization, and they needed sort of somebody to come in and help elevate their game in
Yes,
terms
I
of
understand.
the way that they were communicating with their supporters and the outside world and the press. So Benjamin called upon me, and I had actually done a little bit of work with them in the past, so I knew what they were about. I knew that they were um, an organization that cares about elevating and centering and lifting voices that are underrepresented. And so I took that as the golden opportunity that it was, right? Like, I have to go work with these people full time and make this my professional mission in life right now. So about 4 years ago, I hopped on board during Standing Rock, and that was an exciting time. But the issues out there in the Dakotas just don't go away. So there's always something that we feel compelled to stand in partnership with the tribes out there to help them, move forward and get past some of these barriers. And so, yep, the rest is history. I've been there 4 years, and I don't plan on going anywhere.
Oh, well, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. And I think you couldn't hear me earlier, but I wanted to be in Dakota for that mission, for that movement. I found myself 3, 4 years ago looking up flights, wanting to be there in person. I remember seeing, what the people were going through with law enforcement and the government and how they were being treated. And it was just awful to see and to watch when we knew the good that they were fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for going up there and springing into action and doing what needed to be done for this project and this mission. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Um,
Really my pleasure.
yeah, let's talk about the Lakota. Who are the Lakota?
Sure. So the Lakota are sort of more popularly known as the Great Sioux Nation, the Sioux
Mhm.
Indians, and they are I mean, it's sort of complex. There's within the blanket term Lakota, there's Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota peoples,
Okay.
and they are Plains Indians that have been living for a long, long time, mainly in the area of the Dakotas, but also spread around that a little bit. And some of the more famous Native American people that you've heard of and heard the stories about, like Sitting Bull is a noted Lakota Hunkpapa tribal leader from the past. But I have learned so much over the last 4 years, getting to work with these people and getting their perspective in my life, or their perspectives. So yeah, but the Sioux is how most people know them.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. My heritage is Sioux and Cherokee. And it's just been a life mission for me to dig deep and find out exactly where those roots begin and who I'm connected to. I've always been compelled and just to the Native American culture and wanting to know more. My family, they split early, or I guess late on, but the history and the stories, they weren't passed down through the generations. So I'm just like, tell me more about my people. How can I learn more, and how can I learn, how to be involved? Can you give us an inside look on today's culture as a Native American, living on a reservation, or, some of the lifestyle that's going on right now?
Sure. I mean, I think the first things that come to my mind when you ask me about, and I am not myself Native, but I've worked really closely with some pretty incredible Native leaders for a while now. The first things that come to my mind are spiritual and poverty, right? Like that the situation on most reservations, it's tough to break out of the cycle, I think, of poverty for a lot of people on reservations. And there are a lot of reasons for why that is. Obviously in America, we have a problem with a stratified society where a lot of times people of color are dealing with a lot of issues that people who are not of color don't have to deal with, right?
Right.
And that is definitely true on the reservations, right? But I've also seen that there's a lot of wisdom, and a lot of that is derived from the spirituality that I think that a lot of Native people have, and that's been one of those things that's been enlightening for me and uplifting for me in my own life, getting to get those perspectives. But I will just say this too, like having just come back from a month at the Standing Rock Reservation in North and South Dakota, and being out there working really closely with the tribe and tribal members on a get out the vote effort leading up to the election, that the thing I was struck by the most was how many commonalities we shared, right? Like not the differences, but the commonalities. I met some people out there who are going to be lifelong friends that just care about the same stuff that I do, right? Caring for the environment, caring for Mother Earth, and trying to lift one another up. Those are probably, if I have a single issue that's above and beyond anything else for me, it's equity, right? Like I want people to have similar opportunity. I want it to be true that every person can pull themselves up by their bootstraps, right? Like I think we know that that's actually not the case for a lot of people, right? There are reasons why that's tougher. So, but yeah, no, I mean, being out there, I was really struck by how much we have in common, and I was really honored to be welcomed into that community and be able to do whatever I can to further the mission that we had together. And that was an exciting campaign. Our
Yeah.
organization was working really closely with the tribe, the tribal government, and we together we hired over the course of the month, we hired 40 different tribal members, trained them on how to use high tech implements to get out the vote, including iPads and smartphones, and like this incredible system that Benjamin actually put together in terms of targeted voter outreach. So as a 501c3, we cannot take a political side. We cannot be partisan. That's illegal. So we weren't making calls to people and telling them who they had to vote for, but we were making calls to a targeted group of people, which included other Native Americans, and the Standing Rock members were making the calls to other Native Americans in states like Arizona and Florida and North Carolina, right? And saying, hi, I'm X from Standing Rock, and I just wanted to reach out to you and say, get your ass to the polls. Basically.
Yes, if I would receive that call, I would be like, don't worry, I'm going.
Yeah.
We know that the Native people had a huge part in Arizona's success.
Right.
We talked about that in our last show. So, big, huge shout out to the people that showed up and showed out for us there.
Yeah.
And, just looking at you guys' Instagram and seeing the different posts that you made in retrospect to voting, it was just so supportive, so simple. It talked to the culture, it spoke to the people. I knew exactly what every post meant, and I was just like, oh, they were on it. That is awesome. So that was just, you guys did a great job with that.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I was my main duty out there was to lead the media team and help create like a lot of those videos that we shot, and huge shout out to Kelsey, who's our social media manager. She's a powerhouse, right?
Yes, they are beautiful. Y'all's pages are just awesome. The website, I was telling Nico earlier, your platforms are so nice to visit and to learn from. So that's what we want to share with our followers, because sometimes it just takes a voice or a conversation like that to motivate, the next person to say, okay, let me check this out and find out really what's going on over here. Mm-hmm. So if we can get them there, you guys have done the work with, just making it very easy, to be able to connect so many different missions. You know what I'm saying? So many different people can relate to what you guys share and what you're fighting for. So
thank you. And it's all interrelated. And yeah, on Twitter, follow us at Lakota Law, on Facebook at Lakota People's Law Project. But yeah, it really is about lifting people and doing this together, right? And so thank you guys also for this platform and for sharing what we do. And it's really great to meet you guys. And this is what we have to do in the society in this moment, right? In this moment where we're all separate and we're all stuck in our homes and we're all trying to keep each other well and safe and lift each other. It's these kinds of platforms where we connect digitally and we have these conversations that are just so key, I think, that keep us bonded as a society and can propel us forward. So thank you, honestly.
Well, we
absolutely thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate you coming in and sharing it with us, because I know we had talked earlier that they don't really show all of the things that are going on in different cultures, so other people are aware. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate, because we're all here together. So we want to be compassionate to others and what they're going through. And so with that being said, can you tell us a little bit about the Law Peoples Project?
Yeah, it's actually an amazing story I'll sort of go back. So before there was a Lakota People's Law Project, this organization, the Lakota People's Law Project, is a project of the Romero Institute. The Romero Institute is a 501c3 that's run by a pair of like basically wizard people in their 70s. Daniel Sheehan and Sarah Nelson. They met in the 1970s when they both were working to get justice for Karen Silkwood.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny is a sort of a legendary constitutional law attorney, Harvard trained, who worked on Watergate, Pentagon Papers, Silkwood, 3 Mile Island, the Iran-Contra affair. Like basically any major social justice case of the late 1900s, Danny was affiliated with that, if not leading an effort around it. And Sarah was the national secretary for the National Organization of Women in the 70s. So she was a huge leader in the feminist movement. They met on the Silkwood case and formed what was called the Christic Institute. The Christic Institute exposed the Iran-Contra affair and did a whole bunch of other great work, some of which I already mentioned. And in the 80s, right, like there were concerts for the Christic Institute, benefit concerts with like Bruce Springsteen and Bonnie Raitt and like Jackson Browne and Giants, right? Like they were a big deal, and they got shut down actually. But then another and shut down for political reasons, it should be noted. But then they were given the Romero Institute by people who were followers of theirs when they were at the Christic, and they rebuilt a new nonprofit with a mission of continuing sort of what Christic's work had been. And then in 2004, Madonna Thunderhawk and a group of Lakota grandmothers came to see Danny and Sarah because there was a major problem where, continuing the long, brutal history of the slow genocide of Native American people in this country, South Dakota's Department of Social Services was coming in and stealing their children and putting them usually in white foster care, right? Like just to deprogram, you know, it goes back to the boarding school era of kill the native, save the man, right? Like this whole kill the Indian, save the man, this whole mindset, right? But South Dakota was actually taking these children out of their homes, and it was a crisis, right? Like they were, the families were being broken apart, and we see this happening again on the border in our country today. These grandmothers came to Danny and Sarah and said, "Can you guys help us?" And so that started the Lakota Child Rescue Project, which then morphed the Lakota People's Law Project. So we really started by trying to protect these families and keep Native families together. And then, you know, fast forward about 12 years, and then Standing Rock happened and the Dakota Access Pipeline. And at that time, we realized that our organizational mission really needed to morph and become larger, and that we needed to really be on the spot where and when it was needed most in Indian country. And so since that time, you know, we've taken on pipeline fights and the land back movement and so many other things. So much of it is just related, though, to this basic concept of health and safety of the people, right? Like whether that's keeping a family together, keeping a pipeline out of the ground, returning ancestral lands to the people who they really belong to, right? Or keeping COVID out of the reservation, right? Like it's about Native sovereignty. It's about protecting Native people's right to determine their own future, and it's about health and safety. And so we've been just really blessed to, since the beginning when Madonna came to Danny and Sarah, right, to work in concert with Native leaders and really do what's asked of us, right? It's very much about not trying to go in there and be the savior or whatever. It's about working in concert and hearing what needs to be done and offering what we can to step into those breaches, if that makes
Absolutely. Sense. Gosh, it's so many points that you made, and I was just like, wow. I mean, the first one that I kind of want to highlight is when we hear about children being taken from their parents I mean, we're hearing it now with our neighboring, country, Mexico, going through it with the borders. But with the Native people, I tend to think decades ago that this happened, and in Canada that this happened. But you're talking 2004, correct?
Yeah.
That
Same, different modality of doing it, but same situation, right?
Right. Right,
It used to be
absolutely.
boarding schools, and now it's the Department of Social Services. But whoever it is, the point is continue to sort of kill the culture.
Yes.
Yeah,
By families.
I just don't understand. I'm just, it's just mind boggling. What purpose does it serve? But you just answered that question, just to kill the culture, basically, and tear
Fear,
it apart.
kill the culture, fear, something that I experienced where, like I kind of kicked off the conversation with saying, I know, what my heritage is, but I don't have the stories to share. I don't know exactly, who I root back to, so to speak. You're just kind of floating along, as a child of that culture and of that heritage, and you just don't really have a clue,
Right.
so you're striving to kind of find yourself, and being Native American and being African American, it's the same on both sides, and I know that Lakota People's Project, also, on your Instagram, I see, Black Lives Matter, and you guys are just hand in hand with all people of color and making sure that all voices are heard. So big up. Like that's my thing for tonight's conversation. Like big up. Like it's just amazing. And the call to action that you guys did, like again, how you just sprung into action, the whole mission, when the pipeline issue erupted and they needed the support, you just, the mission just project just jumped in and did what was needed to be done. It was huge. I mean, I'm in Florida, just living a regular old life here. And I literally, I was getting educated, I wanted to fight. Like we knew they did such a good job with the awareness,
And we were just, to be 100% clear, right? Like we were just a small part of that movement. That was, again, a Lakota-led movement that came from the people. It came from the young ones, and it came from the ones, right?
These young people are amazing.
Yeah. So we have 3 primary Native spokespeople that work for our organization, but I just want to give one more shout out. So let's keep it on that level, right?
Yeah.
So our Chase Iron Eyes, who's our spokesman, he's an amazing guy. So eloquent and so deep and so knowledgeable. He ran for the North Dakota's lone congressional seat in 2016, just before the pipeline fight, as the Democratic candidate in North Dakota. But who's even more impressive than Chase, and he'd be right here going, yeah, man, is his daughter Tokata. She's 16, maybe 17 now, and she's friends with Greta Thunberg. Like Greta came out to the Dakotas just to like lead some climate marches with Tokata. Like Tokata's like doing speaking gigs like all over the country. I think she's been out of the country.
Up and coming.
Yeah, this girl is something else. She's something else. She's so inspiring to me. Like to see somebody so young who's so smart and so motivated, and they have to be her generation. They have to be motivated because the future belongs to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're in this interesting moment for so many reasons, but not least among those reasons is that we really need to actually be listening to the young people because they have an investment in the future. I mean, I'm 47. I'm going to be around a little bit longer, but not that much, right? Dakotah's going to be around decades after I'm gone. And, I just want to work on something where I know that I did everything I could to leave a better world for her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I heard you mention hashtag land back, and I don't know if this is rather new. I know I've just began to see it. We've always been taught that the land was stolen, and we've been taught, we have this story that we were told in the school system, but what is Operation hashtag land back all about now? What should we know about it, and what should we be doing?
I'll do my best here.
Okay.
I will just say, I actually will just, I'll preface this by saying one of the incredible people that I met at Standing Rock is a woman named Honorata Defender.
Okay.
And she wrote a great op-ed that was published in the North Star. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's a great African American Latino run online news source.
Okay.
It's really worth checking out.
Okay.
Honorata wrote this incredible op-ed about Indigenous Peoples Day or Indigenous Peoples Heritage Day or whatever.
I think I saw that that article about about this. So I'm ready. I'm ready to listen.
Yeah, the title is Day, like we get a day, right? Like let me tell you the history, right? Like, and so the history is that ever since Columbus landed on the shores of Central America, Indigenous people have been subjugated to the onslaught of white Americas, right?
Yes.
Like colonialism, and so I mean, just like they are the original inhabitants of this land, but they didn't they don't have the same concept of ownership, right? Mm-hmm. How can you own your mother? Right.
Yeah. Right.
So, but that just made it easier for the advance of colonialism, right? And of course, African American community has experienced what colonialism looks like, and
mm-hmm.
I mean, Native people were also enslaved, right? Like, and everything that they knew and they had and lived in harmony with was stolen from them.
Yeah.
And so. Land Back is a movement to reclaim what was taken. A good example of that in Lakota country is the Black Hills. So that's where Mount Rushmore is, right? That is like the most sacred land to the Lakota people. And they were told they could keep it in several treaties, and every treaty that the American government ever made with these people was broken. Right. Wow. So eventually it's all just been taken. And just as a little piece of history, in like 1980, the US Supreme Court actually ruled in favor of the Lakota people and said, these hills where Mount Rushmore is do belong to you. And there is and awarded them an obscene amount of money that is now worth, after sitting in banks for 40 years, more than $1 billion, and the tribes have said, we don't want the money. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not about the money. Right. It's about this land is sacred than ours. So the Land Back movement is about returning stolen lands to the original inhabitants of those lands, and Black Hills is a central piece of land in that movement. But there are others for other tribes. And so, it's a good hashtag to follow. It's worth knowing that history and really understanding that, really incorporating that, right? Like the wounds are deep, the losses are many, and it's been a part of my journey in life to try to better understand just exactly how deep that stuff is, and then to step out of my comfort zone to try to do whatever I can to make things right. But yes, Land Back is about returning the land to the original inhabitants.
Thank you for sharing that. So everybody, there is a hashtag for you to follow. I love how these hashtags are turning into like history books and history picture books and just resources and tools chock full of information. So this is a great one for you guys to follow and to see how much more we can get involved to help with this fight. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
You mentioned Native American Heritage Day. I was so excited to see that. But when I saw the article, I was like, okay, I understand this. Also as an African American, we feel the same way about February. We're like, okay, we get February, but to be honored for a day, it's like, okay, it's so much more. It's so much more that goes along with this. But what is Native American Heritage Day about? What does it mean, and how do you celebrate?
I mean, after I read that op-ed from Ani, I was like, I don't think I feel like celebrating.
Yes, I can imagine.
And it also, right, it's the day after Thanksgiving, which is another day that's just so fraught with crazy history for people in this community, right?
Yeah.
Or these communities. Obviously, this is a day where we're all taught that we come together and we celebrate around this mythology of, the Indians and the white people got together for the first Thanksgiving, and it's just like none of it went down like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, let's understand that. But yeah, it's tough. Like, I have to say, like, so for Native American Heritage Day, for Thanksgiving, listen, I love getting together with my family for Thanksgiving, and it's my mom's favorite holiday, and right, like, family is everything, but also, like, there's just a tinge to it now, right? Like, as my understanding increases, listen, I also am one to say, like, take every opportunity in life to celebrate. Like, life gives you an opportunity to celebrate, take it, right? Like, but yeah, it just, everything sort of, there's two sides to every story. So Native American Heritage Day, I mean, for me, it's worth observing. It's worth thinking about. I think the way I celebrate that is to go deeper into my own, increase my understanding of what the history is, and B, to do that, I think, through conversation. For me, it was important to reach out to Native people I knew that day, and ask them that same question that you just asked me. I don't think my opinion really matters much as a non-Native person on that, right? It's more about what's their perspective, and that's what I want to center in my own consciousness on a day like that.
Right.
I mean,
I thought it was pretty.
I would say, acknowledgement. I think people need to acknowledge what actually, like you said, what actually took place, instead of allowing society to commercialize that and make a profit. I think that should be what we should celebrate on that day: acknowledging, accepting, and creating something different to remember, instead of but never forgetting, but moving forward in a positive light, instead of making a profit off of, because it just seems to me we make profit off of people's misery.
Absolutely. And to kind of
Yeah,
I was just going to say, to piggyback on what you were saying, Nikwa, I thought it was pretty powerful for right after Thanksgiving, to see the Native American Heritage Day, because it took my mindset of, when I was a child, and this is what you're told, and this is what you do, to you're growing up and you're learning, and the truth is being shared with you, and then you're trying to filter it into your family and change the narrative and change the understanding. This year I was like, okay, I began to share a little bit more about Native Americans and the sites that I followed. I shared it on my page. I just, it was kind of like a little punch. Like, okay, y'all want to do Thanksgiving? Boom, this is what you really need to be reading about and sharing. What I saw, I think it was on the Lakota's page. I follow several, but they said, still gather with your family, still gather around the dinner table, but just add a little bit of education to the conversation, so people will really understand, we live here, we walk this land. We need to understand this land and who was here before us, and how this land, survived and strived before Columbus landed, because
Right.
he was not the first person here. So,
Well, that's part of, exactly what you said earlier. It's right. It's changing the narrative. I think we need to change the narrative on that perspective and not let society predict what that holiday is about.
right.
Because to me, I think even Christmas and things, it should be family, celebrating life. We made it through another year together, healthy, and respecting each other and learning each other and knowing and learning the culture and knowing, like Toya said, not having to find your roots, not having to find out on your own, but you can find out within your family and use that time to celebrate.
Yes.
Instead of everything about, using a moment for a marketing thing or using a
Yes.
moment to gain publicity, things of that nature. I think that's where we're taking away from it, where I think, people look at it as why are we celebrating it around that time of year? But we just need to change the narrative of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And bring it to what it's truly supposed to be. There is a month. Is it August? A Heritage Month, Native Heritage Month. Is it August?
I don't know. I should know.
It's okay. I think it's August too. It seems like kind of with Juneteenth. I know Juneteenth has been largely celebrated for years, but it's like now it's picking up. I don't want to say it's picking up steam, but it's becoming a accepted mainstream, and shared socially. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of our people pushing for awareness and culture share. So we're going to keep pushing.
Can I jump off on that for just a second?
Sure.
I just want to say that, for all of the horrible, horrible stuff that we've all been dealing with in 2020, and this has been such a tough year, the hardest year for so many people. Sheesh, this is a year where I'm a giant Lakers fan, and I almost forgot Kobe Bryant. The year started with Kobe Bryant dying. Right, and that's then pandemic, then just so much stuff, but I want to say that it's been also, and I realize this is not cause for joy, but it is cause. What's the word I'm looking for? Just what happened with George Floyd, what happened with so many people this year, and the way that the consciousness has shifted in this country. And it has. I have to believe that it has, right?
It has.
We have reached this different place where, speaking of corporate stuff, Niqua, right? We went from a place where Black Lives Matter, I think, was considered to kind of be a fringe movement at the beginning of this year in a lot of quarters, right?
Right.
But to a place where now you have giant corporations saying, "Oh yeah, we're down with that. We're on board with that," right? And I'm totally with you in terms of the corporatization in this country gets out of control, and that it becomes about consumerism when it should be about preference and all of these things, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a big marker in America. Right. When companies like Nike say Black Lives Matter, right?
Right.
And so I guess that's one sort of, from all the pain and righteous fury that is deserved, comes some enlightenment in this moment, right? And so I am grateful for that in 2020. I am not grateful for the way we had to get there, but I am grateful that we are coming together as a society more, and that there is a greater understanding, and that a guy like me has some understanding about what Juneteenth means now, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not hearing Toya. I'm gonna pop out and in. I'll be right back.
Okay. Can you hear me okay, Niqua?
I can hear you.
Okay, gosh, I wish, guys, my connection was better, but Something's going on down here in Florida, so I don't know. We're going to keep pushing. When Jesse joins us back, we'll talk about how we can give and support the Lakota People's Law Project on this Giving Tuesday, which is another fairly new kind of celebration or, idea during this holiday season. I like the Giving Tuesday. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesse's back. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you now.
Okay, good.
So we were sharing with our listeners that we wanted you to tell us how we could give to the project on this Giving Tuesday and how much we love Giving Tuesday.
Thank you for that. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for this topic. I always, for me, it's funny as a communications professional working for a nonprofit. I don't love asking for money, right? I wish I loved it more. But listen, our organization is supported 90 to 95% or more by our supporters. It's the people that believe in the same things that we do, that subscribe to our newsletter and give us donations, that are the lifeblood of this organization. They are the heart of this organization, and we are working for them, just like we're working with and for the Lakota. So thank you for this. I definitely encourage everybody to, if you can, go to lakotalaw.org/donate. Mm-hmm. And today we have some really generous donors that really care deeply about our mission and help us so much. And a group of them have decided to match all donations that we get today and actually for the next couple of days.
Cool, so they extended it. Yay. I know I originally read that it ended today, and I saw something that looked like they extended it, and I was like, that will be so cool because it'll give us a chance to, spread the word a few more days. Get that.
Yeah. All the way through Friday. So by the end, if you can, give what you can until Friday, and all of it, you will be doing twice as much good as normal with this match. And again, it's just, this is what keeps us on the ground at Standing Rock, working with the tribe to lead a Get Out the Vote effort that activates Native and environmentally conscious voters all over the country. This is what allows us to be on the spot fighting pipelines. This allows us to do all the things that we do as an organization and to keep making sure that Native voices particularly, but voices of color are centered in the conversation that this country is having and in the direction that this country is going.
I think that's great. Thank you so much. People don't just give and let go. Stay connected with this mission, stay connected with this project. I know Jesse just mentioned the newsletter. There's Instagram. Make sure you follow them there. We actually put you guys' link in our link tree in our bio. So we've been sharing it there as well, just to make it easy for people to give. And we'll continue. It's a lot of information. It's so many different missions that you guys mention and that you're fighting for. So I just kind of want to be, a little push, a little introduction for people to go and visit the website and really get familiar and see if it's anything that resonates deep with them where they can help continue support you guys. I would love to stay connected with you and find out more ways that I can actually be boots on the ground, involved in different campaigns. Like Nico and I, this is what we're doing. It's our podcast. We started it in March. We don't just want to get on here and talk. We want to put in action work. So when we have different conversations and when we meet with different guests, which we've even paused our show to take time to put in action work and make sure that we're actually doing what we're saying, and trying to make a difference in our own little way as well. Mm-hmm. So Thank you so much for sharing that. We appreciate that piece.
I cannot thank you guys enough. I love this conversation, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I do too. I could literally sit here and pick your brain probably each day, each evening of the week, and be like, all right, tell me about North Dakota. Tell me about, we're going to need some more conversation.
Let's do it again sometime. And seriously, just be in touch with me anytime. And I'd love to expand the ways that we work together. And listen, I mean, it's all connected. We are all connected. We have to work together during this time. So I'll make sure that we're helping get the word out about what you guys are doing here too. And it's just really appreciated.
Thank you so much. And I have to tell our listeners that Jesse, literally the Lakota people, they jumped on, they decided last night that they could join us, and we made it happen early this morning. We got all the details lined up and streamlined. And, it's always just a really genuine conversation. I think that's why it's so easy to have and so easy to put together, because it comes from our heart and it's our passion. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. Let's see. Let's end with in 2021, what are some of the main missions for the Lakota People's Law Project?
Sure. I mean, I'm just gonna say that to start with, we're extending the work that we just finished up at the Standing Rock Reservation on the Get Out the Vote stuff. The first project that we have for the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021 is Georgia.
Okay.
We have our we are resurrecting our phone bank at Standing Rock. We're getting our phone callers from the tribe back, calling people in Georgia, Native American people who care about the environment, to get out there and have a record turnout for this runoff election.
Let's go, Georgia. Let's do it. All right, worldwide. We're all behind you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
That is number one. I think a lot of what's going to happen in 2021 is yet to be determined. If I say if, but I mean, this shouldn't be an if, but when President Biden and Vice President Harris take their rightfully voted upon seats, the work doesn't end because there's an administration that could be friendlier to the environment or friendlier to social justice issues, right? Actually, the work intensifies in a way there, because they still need to be pushed to do the things that need to be done, right?
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter who's in those seats to some degree. It's our job as people who care about social justice and care about lifting people up and care about protecting the environment and care about all these things. We have to make sure that they follow through on their promises.
Exactly.
And that they take that it's not just lip service, right?
Yeah.
And so that will be part of it. And then, in terms of COVID, right, like we need to keep making sure that people are protected on these reservations and that they have what they need in order to get through the rest of this pandemic, however it lasts. So continuing to protect the public health and safety, continuing to push land back, continuing to, as an example of a promise that was made that needs to be kept, Joe Biden's team, when he was a candidate, said he will shut down the Keystone XL pipeline, which is like a replay of DAPL, right? Like it's coming just to the south by the Cheyenne River Reservation. There's so much more we could talk about there, like the man camps from these, which are temporary housing for the workers on these pipelines that they set up near reservation borders that increase the massive problem that Native American communities have with missing and murdered Indigenous women. I mean, the connection there is pretty clear. So, we got to make sure that the Biden administration follows through on the Biden campaign's promise to stop KXL, right?
Right. Got it.
There are so many, as you said, there are so many things that we're working on. We're not a huge organization, but we punch above our weight class because we care, and our supporters are powerful.
Right.
So thank you guys again for helping us maybe expand that network, reach more people, reach more ears. And to everybody out there listening to all this, thank you for listening to this. And
yes, thank you guys for listening. Our thing this year has been change happens on the local level. Don't forget that you change how this world and how this community and how this nation runs. So don't give up. Don't keep silent. We need to form together and keep fighting. It does not matter who's in the seats. We need to band together and keep fighting for these issues.
Exactly. Yes. And I just want to thank you, Jessie, for all that you have done, and bringing awareness as well. And we would like to keep in contact with you, as Toya said before, and maybe have you come back on the show in 2021 to kind of talk about some of the things we discussed that are some of the mission and the movement and pushing forward for 2021 for the project and different things of that nature. You have our support. And we will definitely share the information.
Let's do one more call to action. I know you mentioned in the Dakotas with the governor and the COVID. What can we do tomorrow during our day to make a difference?
This is tomorrow, guys. This is a really good point, actually, and I should have said this earlier, so thank you for that. What you can do is go to our new, incredibly exciting Action Center at Lakota. And so it's action.lakotalaw.org. Okay. And you'll see that there are a number of different paths you can take and different things that you can do right now. Writing people to we had to get make sure that every vote is counted action recently, right? We saw how important that was. So yeah, visit the Action Center, action.lakotalaw.org, and you'll see right there in the top is what we think is the most important thing right now. But there are so many things that people can do depending on the things that call to their heart and that the issues they think are most important. We wanted to give people a place to make a difference on any number of levels. So yeah, it's not just about donating. It's definitely about taking action, talking to your representatives, and we make it easy to do that, right? Like go in there and make a difference now.
Yay! All right. Thank you so much. Yes. We will be talking to you super soon. We will stay connected with you. Hopefully when COVID goes away, we can start gathering together and meeting together and doing things in the future. But thank you so much for taking the time this evening to familiarize our listeners with Lakota People's Law Project and telling us your personal story. It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jessie. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes. You too. I look forward to it.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Oh, you guys, I'm so full. That was so good. So, hey, Niqua, we normally do our how your week has been. We thought we ended Mommas with Commas for the year.
I know.
But you guys see how important this conversation was, and there's some things that need to be done as early as tomorrow, where we can step in and help as a force of people. So go to that action page and see what you can do. Basically, the last leg of the conversation is how Niqua and I kicked off the conversation behind the scenes with Jessie in the Dakotas. Right in Standing Rock, there's a governor there that is not how do you say going along with or implementing COVID safety measures, not making things mandatory, such as wearing masks, not implementing or making mandatory social distancing, and the people are left to kind of defend and fight on their own to kind of protect themselves from COVID. So if you can make that call tomorrow, just to, let that governor know that, hey, we need to implement these rules. We need to implement these safety measures. It'll keep all of us safe overall, in the long end.
Right.
So that was cool to end there.
Yes.
But yeah, we don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. We were saying
we just wanted, this was important, and since we had they were able to contact us, we wanted to jump on, and I like also how it relates to these 2 Senate seats. So again, if anyone in Georgia, I know they're going to be, they're pushing to get things done. I mean, they were working on this right after election day, actually. They did the recount in Georgia, and it still stands the way it is. So now they're focusing on those 2 Senate seats. So if anybody in Georgia or anything, tell them to
give
go
them
out.
a call. Give them a call and tell them you support them, and good luck with the runoff. And we're all counting on them to do what they need to do down there. Well,
different communities going and supporting.
Yes.
So that's awesome. So, we may, just depending on what's going on, we may jump on one more time before the year's out, just because, as Jesse had said earlier, things are just kind of transitioning on a month-to-month, day-to-day basis. So you never know what we kind of need to kind of, put out there and have people aware of what's going on and support these important issues that we have. So.
Yes. Thank y'all so much. We are happy to be on. We're happy to bring this information to you guys as always. And we just ask, if you could just hit that share button, because we saw with our own eyes that when you share the conversations, the information spreads like wildfire. We never imagined that one of our chats would have over 1,600, views. So as we continue to grow, we are so thankful of you guys' support, and we're just here to try to get the message out, try to bring new things to the forefront, to the conversation, to the dinner table, if that's what it takes. So thank y'all so much for jumping on this evening and listening in, and share the info. We'll talk to you guys soon. We love you guys.
Bye. Have a good night.
Have a good night.